you know, when you're pushing through it and maybe not getting the rewards for your efforts, you know, as a team, it can take its toll. So to finally kind of get over the hump a little bit and have some success and, you know, play some really meaningful, fun hockey last spring, you know, it just makes you hungry for more.
What was the 5 years a good time for you?
Well, I think it's you know, there's these things come in windows, you know, they call it, and I think I'm buying into that. You know, I think particularly, you know, with where I'm at in my career, with my age, you know, I feel like my best years are ahead of me, and you know, I wanted to give those years to this organization and hopefully push this team to championship levels. That's what you're buying into, and certainly we have a ton of work to do to get to that point.
Blake, was this something that came together pretty quickly, or had there been talks ongoing throughout the summer?
Well, I think once we got through kind of the RFA period, you know, we started chatting a little bit, and it was a little bit of a unique situation. I think, you know, because of where I'm at in my career, where our team's at, you know, going into it, having both sides, you know, having a desire to get something done is a huge hurdle. But from there, you know, you want to do something that makes sense for both sides, so that, you know, we're keeping this group together as long as we can to try to accomplish our ultimate goal. So there's a lot of thought that went into it, which in turn takes some time, and you know, I think both sides are happy the way it shook out.
What message do you think this sends within the room and maybe to the organization and the city as a whole?
Well, you know, it shouldn't be anything new, because I think, you know, over the past handful of years, you know, they've extended guys and tried to keep this thing together, and you know, I guess the message is that, you know, they're willing to pay the price to try to put this team in championship contention. You know, it's an exciting thing as a player to be a part of. I mean, you saw it last spring, getting status to come in, and you know, when the time's right, there's nothing this organization won't do to try to win.
Rightly or wrongly, Winnipeg sometimes has been labeled in the past as a place that's difficult to attract UFAs, and yet the track record here for retaining that core is pretty solid. Why is that?
Well, I think when you have, you know, ownership like Mark Chipman, management, you know, led by Chevy, and a coach like Paul Maurice, I mean, it's a heck of a foundation. So I think Winnipeg, you know, our dressing room's always been really strong. We've always had good guys that have been in here, and ultimately, you know, this is a place, I think, that when you're a part of it, you realize how special it is. You know, maybe on off days you can't sit by the beach, or you know, you can't get a tan, but I think guys have really enjoyed being around the leadership of this organization, and realize how well we get treated here, how well we get treated from the community, and ultimately, like I said, you know, when push comes to shove, it's a place that's going to do whatever it takes to win a championship. So I think we have the right guys in this room that's what they care about. You know, when you know, hopefully one day, if we accomplish all our goals, you know, we can retire somewhere warm and we can sit by the beach together and reminisce about the good times.
Like last year, it was the sort of playoffs or bust mentality, and there's a few guys that said that openly. What's the mentality now after what you guys accomplished last year?
So you got to be careful, because we didn't accomplish anything last year. You know, making the playoffs was certainly a hurdle for this group. You know, it was something that we desperately needed to accomplish. Kind of, you know, for some of that, you know, verification of what I was talking about before. And you know, when the puck drops this season, it's not going to be Game 1 of the Western Finals again. There's a long road to get back to where we got to last year. And it doesn't happen just because we want it to happen, or we think we're better than everyone else, or because we had a good year last year. You know, what made this team good last year was we bought into a style of play that made us really difficult to play against. We learned how to grind as a team, and the sooner we get back to that, the better we're going to be, because then some of our talent's going to come out, and it's going to make us you know, a pretty difficult opponent. But if we can't get to that point, it's going to be a long year. You know, we got to buy into that right from day one of camp. and realized just how hard it was to get to where we got to, because it doesn't just happen.
Was it disappointing not having Paul around this year? What you guys were able to, how he melded in, and how do you guys kind of, take a step without him?
Sure. I mean, he was a great fit in our team, great fit in our room, great fit on the ice. I think there was a mutual appreciation for one another. I think, perfect world, he'd be back, but that's not life as we know it. So yeah, we'll miss him. Vegas got a great player and a great guy, but I think we're excited about some guys that are going to get some opportunities here that showed some things last year, and it's exciting when you have some young talent that comes in chomping at the bit to win a job and something to prove.
Mike, how is your contract structured, like kind of higher in year 1 and 3?
If Chevy wants to talk about particulars of the deal, I'll let him do that. For me, I don't really know if that's my place to talk about. It's a very good question, though.
I just thought maybe just safeguarding yourself against a potential lockout.
Oh, it's an interesting thought.
Blake, when you look at the John Tavares situation, was there any ever temptation to, as a player, to maybe test those free agent waters, knowing that there's potentially a lot of money out there?
Well, no. I guess for me, the temptation, and the goal for me to lock something in here before getting to that point is, I don't want to. I wanted to do this once right now and talk about contracts once, and then play hockey. I don't want this to be a year-long thing where I had to come in every day and ask about stuff like that. So that was where my head was at. My heart is here. Like I said, I'm a day one guy here, and I've been given some incredible opportunities. Even my last contract alone, I'm so blessed by even to have that. So the money wasn't as attractive, I think, when I look at situation-wise and where I fit in a team, in a community. I couldn't see myself anywhere else.
Does it feel any different coming into camp this year, just given how much longer you guys played last season, and maybe, even though you said you didn't accomplish anything, you guys did have some postseason success?
Yeah, it's different. Normally when you're back here, you feel like you've been gone a long time. It doesn't feel like that now. It feels like we were just driving in last spring. So there's a lot of good to it. When you're in this business, you don't want to have too many long summers. So we're gonna have to crank it right back up. You've seen historically there's some teams that have trouble with it. Some teams don't have any trouble with it. We're gonna have to find our identity early and buy into it, and hopefully we'll be all right.
How hands-on are you in a negotiation like this, as far as, hey, how does it fit in with the team? You're letting other guys get maybe what they need to, or do you just let your agent give you an offer?
No. It was, I think, my involvement. I think there was a lot of involvement on a lot of parts, because that's really important. It doesn't really do you any good to try to get every last dollar, and then you don't have a great team to play with. So I think there's been a lot of that has to go on here, because we're really lucky. We have a lot of really good players, and we do live in a salary cap world. So there's some give and take. You got to find the right the right threshold, so that you're happy, they're happy, and everyone can try to be happy. It's not always possible with the world we live in, but you do the best you can.
And given where the team is in that whole bigger picture, salary cap wise, and the window you mentioned, we always talk about the window. Where is this team's window now, and how long does it stay open?
Well, that's the key. The key is to try to keep this group. I think with what our team, some of the successes we have last year, it kind of looks like that window's opening up, and you want to try to keep it together as long as possible. So that's where Chevy has a great luxury in having that problem, but it also is probably really difficult to try to manipulate. And those guys do a ton of work behind the scenes to try to keep this group together as long as possible.
Shifley tweeted out that who do you think's more happy, me or Blake, over the signing of this contract? What, I guess some of the reaction from your teammates out there. Did you get a text from or a phone call from Mark after?
Yeah, you know, he was. I've been with Shed quite a bit this summer, training, skating. We were together last week in Toronto, so he was, you know, he was around for, you know, kind of when things were getting close. So he was, you know, one of the first guys to know, and you know, how many years does he have left as well? So I think that's it's a great fit. You know, obviously, you know, we talked about it. I know how lucky I am to play with a guy like that, and so trying to keep that together as long as possible is always a good thing.
Speaking of Mark, what do you think of his debut as a pro golfer? And do you have a Players' Cup clause built into your contract?
Yeah, I was disappointed I couldn't make it. I was really excited about doing it. You know, Dad Duty called, and coincidentally he was pretty amped up about doing it, so it was a perfect swap. I'd love to do it in the future. We were keeping track of him and saw his front nine on the second day, and then flipped over to the back nine. But that's, hey, you know, for how little he gets to golf, good for him. Sounds like he had a blast, and I'd love to do it with him one year.
Would you have done any better than him?
Couldn't tell you. I mean, you know, conditions look tough. Tees are back, long rough. People watching, probably.
Did you take it with some of his conditioning practices?
Well, that's the great thing is you know, you kind of learn from each other a little bit. And one of the reasons I'm so lucky to, you know, we're so lucky as a group to have Scheif is there's probably nobody in our league and maybe in the world that does more to try to get themselves better. I mean, there's not a thing he hasn't tried or researched or, you know, gone to visit out there. And to hear some of the things that work, some of the things that don't work, you know, I can try to take some of the things that work and apply them to what I do, and it makes it pretty cool to pick his brain a little bit.
Did you spend more time with him this summer than in previous off seasons?
Yeah, we were we skated together, worked out together for a month. Actually, we had quite a few guys, handful of guys got together and met up and trained together a little bit. So it's good to see the guys in the summer too.
Where?
Can't tell you that. You always want a little bit more. I give you a little bit. You always want a little more.
That's our job.
Yeah. I know.